Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Managing Partners Podcast. My name's Kevin Daisey, and I'm your host. And today, I have a guest that was on the show quite some time ago. And so we're happy to have him back because he's done a lot between now and then. And want to have him back on to share his progress, his story, and some of the things that he's done that I hope will bring some value to you, some lessons learned, and ready to learn a lot today from Aaron. So, Aaron Thomas, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back. Glad to be here, Kevin.
Yeah. So, everyone listening, if you want to check out Aaron and his firm, you can go to prenups.com. So, that's right down below. And for anyone listening on audio, it's prenups.com. Very simple, awesome domain. I'm sure that was a process to get, which I'd like to hear about. And then you can probably give you an idea of what he does at the same time. So simplicity is so important, I think, with messaging and marketing and all those things. So I think what you have going is really good, and we'll get into that too. So, Aaron, first off, just want to know your background, your story, how you got started in this business and became an attorney, and kind of what that started like, but how did you end up where you're at now?
Yeah, sure. So always wanted to be a lawyer. Growing up, it was just something I latched onto from a young age. Didn't really know what area I would end up in. After law school, I found myself drawn towards litigation. Ended up in a public defender's office for a few years, and really kind of stumbled into family law. The firm that I ended up working for needed somebody with courtroom experience, and they recruited me in and said I'd get to, do what was my favorite thing at the time, was be in the courtroom. So I joined a law firm that catered to really high-end, high net worth clients, a lot of celebrity athlete clients. Had a lot of fun with that. In the process, so I've been practicing family law since 2007.
Okay.
In the process of doing that type of practice, it struck me how many people, how many of my clients really didn't understand kind of the legal relationship that they were signing up for when they got married. And a lot of times people kind of learned the rules of marriage when they were going through a divorce. Can't tell you how
about
many
celebrities
times
and high net worth, which have a lot more.
Have a lot of money on the line. Yeah, exactly. And the need for prenuptial agreements really became apparent to me, during my time doing divorce work.
Interesting. So, transitioning from that to when you went from that firm to on your own, and to when you decided to niche, if you will, into what you're doing now.
Yeah. So a little bit of an interesting journey. I actually took a year off, took a sabbatical. I paid off my student loans early, made that effort, and saved up a little bit of money. And it's kind of a celebration and a dream come true. I took a year off and spent it traveling around South America with my then girlfriend and now wife. We spent 15 months in Latin America, and came back, and I said, if I could pull that off, what else could I possibly do? And decided to hang up my own shingle, go out on my own. And 2015 is when I started Aaron Thomas Law, kind of a full service family law firm here in the Atlanta metro area. So
for me, what that sounds like is, sometimes you got to take a step back a little bit, and you had time to kind of think about what do I want to do? What should I do next? Not that everyone can do that easily. I would think some people would be like, there's no way I can do that. But I've heard a lot of folks I know that are successful that have been like, maybe not quite the sabbatical you took, but they've been like, I got to step back. I got to get out of the business a minute to realize and plan and think about what I want to do. If not, we're just stuck in the day to day forever,
Yeah, I think that's totally right, and definitely true for me. Had I not taken that time away, I don't know that I ever would have made that transition to starting my own law firm, because it would have been a pretty significant pay cut. That first year in practice for yourself after coming from a pretty stable law firm job. Um,
Sure.
it was, we lived that year on a shoestring budget. So, any kind of income was going to be living, much, much higher quality of life than we had during that year abroad. So it was a
But
lot
what a cool
easier to.
experience too, to be able
Oh
to do
yeah, it was
something
an
like that.
amazing experience, life-changing experience. And I think a big part of, what made me believe, okay, if I can pull that off, I can pull off anything. And certainly, we'd lived on a pretty tight budget. So coming back and starting my own law firm, it was really the perfect time to do it.
That's awesome. I love that. I wonder how many people are like, wow, that's amazing. I wonder if I could do that. Hope you can. And I wish that's something I did. I got 2 kids and married and all that stuff, and we did it pretty young. So you don't. It's hard to imagine even being able to do something like that, other than like a 1 week off trip or something like that. So good on you for doing that, and and to where you're at now. So let's kind of talk about how you're like, okay, I want to do not just my own law firm, but I want to like hyper niche into one area, and I want to be known for that. And I know when you were actually on episode 101, so the Managing Partners podcast, episode 101. He was actually interviewed with my partner Eric, and then his .com was different, the name was different, and so in just a year and a half or so, you've kind of made this transition and into this niche. So prenups. So let's kind of talk about a little bit like what was that path like, and when did you decide that, hey, we're really gonna focus this, and you saw some opportunity obviously too.
Yeah, yeah. So I've really been trying to develop a niche in prenuptial agreements for probably 7 or 8 years now,
Okay.
and it's been through a few different iterations. The first one was called WeNuptial.com, which you can probably get what I was trying to do there, and I learned the hard lesson of be clear, not clever. And
Yes.
through kind of trial and error, nobody could spell we nuptial. People weren't sure if it really were, prenuptial agreements. And so the next iteration in 2020 was GeorgiaPrenups.com. Nobody asked what I did or where I did it. It was, it was super clear. But to really dive in on the niche in the way that I wanted to, we wanted to expand across the country. And
Yeah.
so that led us to seek out and negotiate over the course of a year the acquisition of the domain prenups.com, which we finalized in 2021. And that's the business that I'm running now. I was running a family law firm at the same time, the last time that I was here on your show, and shut that down in August, September of 2022. And
Okay. Wow.
really put all of my efforts into prenups.com, and we've been growing it ever since.
Just yeah, I'm so glad you came to that decision. I think it is the right decision, and it's scary. And actually, I just had a guest on that actually, as we're recording this today, episode goes live today at noon. May confuse people if they listen to this now, but they have an elder law practice they were just a local PI firm. They niched into elder law, and they've blown up, and they've gone national with a very specific elder law for like nursing homes. That's all they do. And she said they've been in business for 25 years as a firm, and the last 1 or 2 years has been explosive growth, and just by focusing on that one area. So, and now they're serving, they're barred in like 17 states, and they're about to be the whole country soon. So but it's scary to do that. It's scary to say, hey, I'm going to stop these other things and focus and we did that too, right? So we used to work with all kinds of companies, and we only work with law firms. And that was always a concern that we might lose business, or we might not get leads that are, from leads sources that we had before. And so it was a risk. What do our other clients think, or that we won't help them anymore? So yeah, I think it takes some courage and some risk, but it tends to pay off.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's terrifying, right? Because what's tried and true is easy to stick with. The family law firm had plenty of demand. We had been growing year over year, but the potential benefits of niching down were so great that it was an opportunity that I really couldn't ignore. I'm sure, I've experienced the same thing that I'm sure you guys experienced, which is when you really niche down and you get good at one specific thing within a niche already, then you get to be very, very good at that one thing. It's a lot easier to become the absolute expert at prenups when all you do is prenups, or marketing to law firms when you're only having to worry about the specific challenges of your market, your target market. And then I think that pays off in terms of clients, customers start realizing that you know your stuff, and that you are the go-to place for the service they're looking for. So it's a challenge to make that transition, but yeah, it's a payoff.
Yeah, and then and the marketing, the message, your audience, you can start to hone in on that, right? And you're speaking to. So when they do find you, they're like, "Oh, this is exactly what I need," and "Ooh, this is all they do." I still have people that are they're like, "Wait, you only work with law firms? Like, that seems ridiculous. Why would you do that?" And you got to explain it to them, and I think people that niche understand it very easily, and then some people just. It took us years to figure out. We knew we needed a niche, just like you kind of were working towards it for a while too. And but it's just you got to fully commit. You got to fully commit to it, or you're not really being honest with yourself or anyone else. So, like, well, we just dabble in it, and we have a little page for it, but we don't want to like give up all the other stuff. Like, you got to just go all in, and then once you do, that's when things start to work out for you. In my experience. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that's been my experience as well. If you're really trying to build a successful business, you're not going to do it in the 2 to 3 hours you have left over from your main business on the side. At some point, you gotta cut the cord, take the leap, whatever analogy you want to use there. You've got to burn the boats, all of those things.
Burn the ships.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so right now, so you're in Georgia. Your website, if you go to prenups.com, anyone, again, nice new brand, the prenups.com. You're obviously focused on getting folks nationally. Are you able to serve right now all states, or what does that look like?
We are, funny enough, you mentioned the other firm. We are in 17 states so far. So we are, and hopefully we'll be above 20 by the end of this year. We're adding attorneys one by one. It's a slow process, but you've got to find the right fit and the right people. But we are in Georgia, California, New York, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, number of other states, and trying to go wherever wherever the traffic is and wherever we get inquiries and interest from. So our goal is to become the nationwide leader in the provider of prenuptial and postnuptial agreements. So
I love it. You got all the parts, you got all the makings of it. If I look at all your assets and those things, and so that leads us to the book. I wanted to kind of make sure we talk about the book and make sure people know what you've done there. And so tell us a little bit about the book you just put out. And I know you have a copy right there behind you.
Yeah, sure do.
If you have a copy to hold up, let's do that too.
Yeah,
but tell me about that process and, and kind of like the spin on it that you have, which I really like a lot.
Yeah. The book is called The Prenup Prescription. subtitle is a little small there. It says meet the premarital contract designed to save your marriage. And basically, what we argue is that a prenuptial agreement can do more than just kind of what most people think, which is protect your premarital assets. We look at it as an opportunity to get on the same page financially with your spouse through the 3 principles of transparency, communication, and fairness. And we help couples build those principles into their actual agreement. We give them the framework for a successful financial relationship. And of course, if their marriage doesn't work out, they're not going to spend 20% of their net worth in a year and a half of their life in a courtroom, going broke on lawyers. So they get the protection that, people know exists in a prenuptial agreement. But we also give them the tools to hopefully avoid ever having to face a divorce in the first place. A lot of people know that, money is one of the top things couples fight about. And so we try to help people eliminate or prevent, those most common arguments. So yeah, the book is out on Amazon.
Okay, excellent.
And we've hit some Amazon bestseller lists, and so we're really proud of the buzz that it's getting and the feedback that we're getting from it.
Excellent. Well, we'll be sure to get that featured out in one of our newsletters that goes out to the audience here and help you get some exposure to that. But I think the spin on that and the difference, the message that you have when you go to your site and the book, and me personally, I mean, a marriage is a financial decision as well. Like, you at least should be on the same page and have plans and be saving and what are we trying to accomplish here? I think that's a good way to go with any marriage, but I think most people don't have those conversations before they get married.
Right.
So, and I didn't necessarily. I mean, I had my own business when we got married, and she does very well for herself. But I don't know if we really established everything, and I think that would be a good exercise for anyone to go through in a way that doesn't seem like you're trying to protect your money.
Right.
So,
right. Instead of planning for your divorce, you're planning for the marriage itself. You're planning for success.
Yeah. And I got a friend of mine. He's a really successful business coach and financial planner. He does our financial planning for our company. But he does, this is future tense, but he does, family retreats where they get down and they plan, even with his kids. Like, what are we trying to do? Where do we want to go? What goals do we have? Is there something that we want to purchase or have, or a vacation home, whatever it might be? It can be smaller than that. It doesn't have to be that big. But they do family planning, retreats, if you will, which I'm going to begin to start doing myself. So I think that's a good idea. But, there's got to be love involved, but you should definitely have other things in place.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's funny. One of the things that we recommend in the book is what we call the annual shareholders meeting, which maybe is a little businessy way to say the same thing that your financial planner does, where you sit down, you take a look at the year past and any challenges and surprises, and then you use all that information to plan for the year ahead and budgeting and all of those things. You're exactly right, Kevin. It's a good exercise for people to do. Obviously, when you're getting married, but for couples that have been together 10 years or 20 years, if you've got some tension in your financial relationship, certainly, you could benefit from, using some of these same kind of tools.
Yeah, I love it. So I like the shareholder meeting. But the thing is, we do those things within our business, right? We sit down and we plan. We have quarterly goals. We have, all these metrics, and that doesn't really translate usually over to just to a marriage. And maybe not all it needs to be, but I definitely think you can take some lessons from it. So
yeah. There's not everything translates, but there are some tools that definitely cross over for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Welcome to the Marriage Counseling Show with me and Aaron. So if you haven't learned any law firm growth tips yet, at least you've maybe got some tips on your marriage. So, but the niching, the focus, I think these are huge lessons for everybody. And I think when you would think, prenups versus like divorce. Like that seems more like, oh, I want to niche in divorce, and a lot of folks do that. But you saying no, I want to niche in this other area, which I think has a lot more less competition, I would say, as far as specific, being specific about it. And so I like that. And I had a gentleman I know here, actually locally in my town, like he just reckless driving tickets. And I'm like, well, why that? Because you don't make a lot from those, maybe $800 to $1,200. All the other firms don't want them. They want DUIs. They want car accidents. They want bigger ticket stuff. And so no one's really honing in on that because it's lower ticket. But he's like, if I could get all of it or a ton of it, he's like, I don't even need senior attorneys for that. That's like an associate or junior attorneys can handle all that work because it's very straightforward and basic. So it's scalable, right? And so, you just sometimes got to put your head down and think. And I, kind of like what you've done with the prenups, I think just makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Thank you.
And you had the hybrid model too. I want to kind of go over that too, because there's like websites that they just do it online and you pay a fee, but you're bringing in the, you're doing a hybrid. So you have the online access, but you have an attorney that's actually going to be, working with you on this, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Certainly there are plenty of legal services where you can go and download a form, and, kind of DIY it yourself. What I found is for something as important as, the structure of your marital finances, people need the ability to ask follow-up questions. They need the ability to customize things that work for their situation, what they're coming in with, what their spouse is coming in with, what are their, specific fears, challenges, things that they want to address. Maybe AI will get there at some point, but today, your best option is to work with a professional who's experienced, who has done family law, who knows the kinds of challenges that people have in divorces and can really help couples avoid those kinds of challenges and mishaps by some smart planning on the front end. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback. I mean, I think that people really benefit, and for most people, some people are on their second or third marriages, but for most people, it's the first time that they've ever gone through this, and they don't know where to start. They don't know what they don't know. And so being able to come in and help them think about, would you take time off of work to, take care of an aging family member, or, what if one of you becomes disabled, or, what if one of you moves for the other one's job, and kind of help them think 10, 20, 30 years into the future, and what kind of structure that they put in place for their finance today is going to grow with them over the years, and not just kind of deal with next year's challenges, but help them plan, way into the future.
Yeah. So to me, if I was going to do one, I don't want to download a form or take it a chance, because what's the point at that? Because it might have been done wrong or not done right. I wouldn't even know if it was legally binding. So I would not do that. And I would think your clientele who you're going after, again, with your brand, the book, and all those things that I think puts you in a different category, have a higher net worth that probably aren't interested to do the cheap option.
I think that's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. We are targeting probably the market that would never even consider doing a downloadable form for a document this important.
Yeah. I think you set yourself up right, and you're focused on the right market based on the brand and all the things I see is how you've positioned yourself. Now it's just getting in front of them all. So that's the harder part. That's the harder part.
Exactly.
I think you just do a Super Bowl commercial and you're good.
That's what I've heard. That's all. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. Well, I just love what you're doing. So your book's on Amazon. I assume it's also linked on your website, prenups.com.
Yes.
And anything else you want to share that good tips, lessons learned, things that you maybe stumbled over that we can help some of these folks that are listening avoid?
Yeah. The challenge, I think, with marketing something like prenuptial agreements is there's so much stigma around it. There are so many, misconceptions. And so, one thing that I've learned is, certainly you can do kind of short form videos, for YouTube or social media. But what has really worked well for us is doing podcast interviews, interestingly, because it's in a more long form space. You have a little bit more time to beat back some of the misconceptions and really outline some of the benefits. And so, what I've learned is when you're marketing something that is difficult to understand, is maybe not that well understood, the 15-second ads are unlikely to do it for us, but something long form that somebody who's already curious about, maybe they're getting married, maybe they're thinking about a prenup, but they're not sure, how to bring it up or how to address it, or, what all it really entails. Doing something that is long form for clients to really dig in and get educated on is something that it seems to be working for us.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And, YouTube video, if you get a YouTube video that would rank well, that, where you explain it, someone's like searching and looking for help or has questions, I think would be good too. And then, I've already talked to you about that a little bit, but just, search in general, someone that's like looking for it right now, they get in front of those folks, which, we're going to be talking about that with you anyway, to see how we can point you in the right direction. But, there's a finite amount of people that are either looking for it or have questions about it. And, if you can reach that market, they've either been told by a family member maybe, or it's mentioned by someone they know, and they're kind of in that, oh, do I need one? How do I get one? So there's people looking. I think it's harder to educate the public to say you need one, or here's why you should have one and why they're good. But, I like you're kind of coming at that from both angles. Because even if you get in front of someone that's like, maybe I need one, you still need to communicate that it's a good thing to do, and here's all the other benefits of it, to make sure, they choose you. And I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can see them getting like, hey, I don't know, I think I need one. I'm not looking to it, and like, I don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think marketing to the naysayers is another challenge that I learned early on back in the we nuptial days. I think a lot of my messaging was targeted to people who were anti-prenup. They would never consider it in a million years, rather than really recognizing, just like you said, there are people out there who either they know they want a prenup, they don't know where to get it, or they're on the fence and they need that education, that last bit of information to put them over the top, and a provider that they would feel comfortable working with. And so we've switched our approach over time, and now, like you said, it's just going to be getting in front of enough of those people to show that we're the right solution for them.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So it's the market of the naysayers and trying to change their minds, next to impossible. So. So I'm glad you shifted from that.
Yeah,
for sure. All right. Well, Aaron, thanks so much for sharing. I mean, I think, the evolution of your career and your business is interesting to see. And then, the time you took off is impressive to do that and to come back with a plan and to put that into action. So I think there's a good lessons learned for everybody here. So, just appreciate you sharing. Thanks for coming on the show again. Good luck with, the book and the new website, and hopefully you just start to dominate the world. And one day I'll, maybe you'll still answer my calls when I try to reach out. It's all your celebrity. So
always for you, Kevin. Appreciate you having me on. It's an honor.
Yes. All right. Well, again, appreciate it, everyone. I hope you took some lessons away from what Aaron's done. You got to commit if you're going to niche. You got to go all the way in. You have to give up the other things. And, I just look at those opportunities within your practice areas. Is there something that's maybe low-hanging fruit, or what the other firms in your area aren't going after. You can do searches and you look at search volume and talk to someone like myself, but what are firms staying away from that you could maybe go, hey, we do that well and we could do that well, and look at those opportunities. Because if you're trying to outspend some of the existing firms in your area that have been there for decades, it can sometimes seem like impossible to do. So, but look at those cracks, look at the opportunities, and see maybe where you can fill those and grow a great firm. So good tips, Aaron. I appreciate it. Everyone, have a good day. Make sure you go to prenups.com and check out Aaron's company, and we'll talk at you soon. Have a good day. Aaron, you can stay on with me. We'll talk backstage.